and nobody in the Air Force. So we were able to beat the Yankees. And we also were settled pretty much by the people from the Yankee coast and New York.
Okay.
Certain parts of New York. So we are really the western peninsula of New York.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we are pretty much a Yankee state. That's why we were so hated in the Civil War. We had a very high volunteer rate, and we were important to the cause.
So could you repeat the part about Cass and this being condemned as a swampland?
Yeah, okay. Lewis Cass was our original territorial governor of the Northwest Territory. He was very happy with Michigan. He lived here. He would often go off on horseback and explore Michigan. However, at the time, the federal government sent some surveyors to Michigan to see what Michigan was like. They came to the conclusion we were nothing but swamp and not even worth having. Okay, so they did not allot Michigan land for the veterans of 1812. So we were bypassed in the immigration westward, which was to our advantage because when we were finally discovered by the large masses out east with the Erie Canal, we had a huge what was called Michigan madness. People came out here and bought acreage for about $1.25 an acre, and we just had hundreds of people pour in within 3 years, thousands, I should say. So we experienced a large influx all at the same time. It worked out to our advantage because our forests were not cut down, while Indiana, Ohio, and other states below us had cut down their forests. So we were able to bring the railroads, the newer technology, and capitalize on that. Right, the newer technology was all set to go, and we were able to take advantage of it.
So do you think that had anything to do with the automobile industry settling here?
I believe our laws were set up because the Yankees came in and they were very entrepreneurial, whereas Ohio and Indiana were more southern mentality of agriculture. The Yankees came in and they were pro-technology, pro-school. They made Michigan, University of Michigan as soon as they could. They also brought in Michigan State for agricultural. So we had a large, we had some types of entrepreneurial Yankees that wanted to start up things. Originally, Flint was a hotbed. That was lumber. They harvested out the lumber, but they had carriages. So the carriage people were already there to stick in a motor. And then we had people like Crapo, and they also attracted people because they were thinking ahead of time. They didn't have the lumber, so they brought in people who could make the motors. And then the industry took off. Crapo's son-in-law, a grandson by his daughter.
Oldsmobile.
Yeah, Oldsmobile.
Okay.
And so there is a lot of the Crapos of Flint were responsible for bringing a lot of the Eastern influence there also. Yeah.
So Nate, there's a lot more here when you go to Lapeer. You like that? That's a new saying for you. There's a lot more here when you go to Lapeer. Because he's from, we're staying in Imlay City. And he's from Grand Rapids, Minnesota.
Really?
So we're giving them a little Michigan history.
Yeah, it's quite colorful. We're different from everybody else in the United States because we were settled so late, and we just had this bolus of people that just came and they got hope. So we're fortunate to have that sort of mentality that took over the state. Now there was a small population here, and they were southern and thinking that they were sort of overwhelmed by what came in within 3 to 5 years. Especially the opening of the Erie Canal, so that was really big for Michigan.
So how do you like Lapeer today? Tell me about Lapeer today.
Lapeer appears to be a Tea Party Republican town, which makes a lot of people who are not Tea Party Republicans angry. We're known for being a city of intense opinions. And this courthouse was actually one of 2 courthouses. And it's called the Courthouse War because we just seem to embody that competitive spirit. So Lapeer it's up and coming. We do not teach to that MEP test. We do not do that. So there's an intellectual spirit here. There's an inclusiveness. There's the old-fashioned raise yourself by the bootstrap. We do have poor people. There is a population of black people, yes. And a lot of those black people are white, actually. So to say that we are racist is sort of wrong. We do have a diverse population. Right now, we take great pride in our young people. That is our strongest point. We raise kids here, and they're good kids. You can turn them loose during the Lapeer Day, and they're really pretty good. Low crime. It doesn't cost a lot to live here. Not really. If you live in Lapeer, it's a little bit more expensive. But you can live in North Branch, in my city, it's inexpensive. There's a lot of agriculture. It's kind of old-fashioned if you see all the farm festivals. So you'll see that.
There were 2 courthouses in Lapeer?
There are 2 courthouses.
Wow, how many? 2 courts too?
Well, what happened is that we had 2 pioneer families, the Harts and the Whites. They both claimed to be the original pioneers because they came in the same year. But they bought land that was real close. If you go up the street to the right end where the White is, that's Whitesville. They bought up there. The Harts bought down here.
Okay.
So they wanted both to be the county seat because you can put your courthouse where the county seat is, and you realize it's more valuable. So the Whites and the Harts had a courthouse board. They both built the courthouse at exactly the same time. And they finally finished, and people didn't want to offend either family, so they had court at both buildings. However, Alvin Hart was a finagler, let's just put it politely. So he ended up in the state legislature, and he was able to arrange a vote so that this would become the county seat.
Okay.
The White family was not defeated. They also had built the Opera House in Whitesville. Okay. So to get back at the Harts, they moved their Opera House to that building next door. That building next door was moved from up the street at considerable cost. So you had the courthouse and you had the Opera House, which was very important at that time. And so the Whites and the Harts had a really old-fashioned background.
Were the settlers a lot of Germans, I imagine?
They were Germans, lots of Germans.
Dutch, I suppose, if they're from New
They were
York.
Dutch, Scandinavian, Dutch, the type of old northern.
Sure. And was there a religious divide in this town?
Not
Were there
really.
Protestants, Catholics, or not?
Not originally, when the first Catholic priest came in, they threw stones at him. And to Alvin Hart's credit, he took in a Catholic priest who he knew was going to have a difficult time, and he tried to convince him to build a church here. He decided not to because it was a small town. It was mostly Protestant. There's a fear of papacy, of the Pope coming over and taking. But when that was found not to be true for the American Catholics, then the church came in, and they're very popular, very respected. That school keeps growing all the time. Now the Catholic school or the Catholic Church seems to be reverting back to more of a hard line right now, which surprises a lot of people. They have lost people at the church over that, but they have attracted other people who feel that way. So the church right now is somewhat in flux, but at the same time, there is no way that anybody's going to hate anybody for that reason here. I mean, it's rude.
Well, yeah, small town sometimes.
How does how far are you from Flint, and how does being somewhat near Flint affect you?
It doesn't really affect us right now, but before, there was a time when Lapeer and Flint had the same amount of population, and it should have been what Flint was, but what happened, they had Henry Howard Crapo. Henry Howard Crapo was a transplant from New York. He was one of those Yankees. He gravitated from North Branch, where the lumber was, to Flint, where the rivers were better. So he made his fortune in Flint. So if we had a Henry Howard Crapo stayed here, we would have been fine.
And what is his name? Henry Howard?
Crapo, C-R-A-P-O.
Crapo, okay.
He's one of the most documented small businessmen in the United States because of his extensive letter writing to his son back east. So he has a cult following. So he's very, very well documented.
And he would be a major reason that the General Motors got started in Flint. There was a lot of industry, a lot of forward thinking.
He was extremely forward thinking.
Yes.
Thing. And the whole time that he was also governor of Michigan for a short while. And he made enemies. To this day, he has enemies because he said no parole for the people in jail. There's only a handful of people that got out of jail, so he made enemies there. Also, he was responsible for holding the railroads back from from going into a town, telling the townspeople, give us money, we'll make a railroad, and then duck them out. So there's a lot of fraudulent people walking around Michigan saying they're going to build railroads. He stopped that from Michigan. He wouldn't let bills be passed. To this day, he's being blamed for a lot of underdevelopment of the railroads, but that's not the case. If you read a true historian's account, you will find out that he was not to blame for anything. In fact, he held back a lot of fraud happening to the small towns. A lot of these towns went into bankruptcy because they believed these railroad people, and they actually put the money for it. No, that was happening all over. So he stopped that. So Henry Howard Craver tried to bring innovation. He was very strong about establishing this Michigan State University, which is agricultural. Many people felt like, why are you educating a farmer? But he knew there was a science behind it. He wanted that to happen. He was pro-railroad, but not, of that type. He came in just at the end of the Civil War, so he wasn't very much involved in that. He served his time and was well respected. As far as Flint goes, we should have been what Flint was. The river wasn't good enough to be the river, so we missed out on that, and they had Henry Howard Craver. Now, interestingly enough, Henry Ford became interested up here. He bought one of our major properties, and that's what's at Greenfield Village. Henry Ford Museum was also interested in buying this building at one time and transferring it to Greenfield Village. So what is the building here that's It's a factory. I forget the name of the factory, but if you go to Greenfield Village, there's a factory. That was ours.
So who prevented him? Henry Ford made a lot of enemies around the country because he came into towns and he took the Wright brothers bike shop. So he created a great place, but he kind of stole people's history.
He did, and if you go into the Henry Ford Museum as a historian, you'll see that things are not quite squared away with, the archives. In fact, he has his automobile, that little carriage thing, with the stick, that's enshrined in glass. But in one of the garages, when I was there as a little girl, the car that predated that was just stuck in the garage, and one of the mechanics who was responsible for that car was on the defense. He was trying to tell people who would listen that this car was the Henry Ford car. Yeah, so there are people who were there when I was a little girl who were, so they sort of opened the eyes. Also the light bulb with the cotton filament, that was not Edison's idea. That was a black inventor who was working for Edison. That was his idea. And in fact, that little cotton filament, he sort of tweaked it, or Edison tweaked it so that when he showed it, he thought, we solved the problem, but it would only burn for so long. But basically, the cotton idea was actually another black man's idea. That's a little known fact.
Well, yeah, and Christopher Columbus didn't really discover America. Oh, no. That was the biggest shock when I went to U of M and sat in there in a history class.
Oh, no. There's many other people. In fact, we just found another group of Scandinavians who are not Vikings that were up in somewhere in Canada. That's a recent discovery.
So how would you change Lapeer today?
How would I change Lapeer?
Or is it good as it is?
No, it needs some work. We need to increase our taxes because people want things that we don't have a base for, don't have a financial base for. So we need to get past the idea of the Republican and the Tea Party idea that we don't tax. Just clear away some of the stuff. We have money here. The money is here. We have farm money. We have good people. We have a good consciousness of what's right and wrong, such as everyone stealing. What's wrong? We could use another industry other than farming.
You use another what?
Industry.
Okay. Okay.
We are drawing industry in here because we have the work people to hire. So we have these small industries like in Imlay City. We just opened up or expanded another building.
Is it the rubber one?
Pardon me?
Is it the rubber one?
It might be. I think they
just moved there about 5 years ago.
No, this is a new one. Oh, yeah, they do dress work and warehouses. It was just in the paper about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, watch the economy press. I think it's in maybe the last 2 weeks.
And what do they do?
I think they do draftsmen, and I was reading the article trying to figure out, they're talking about warehouses and they're talking about draftsmen. Draftsmen and some other things. But I want to look at that too because it's a real boom for us. But we can't be in industries that are looking at our labor base. We have a pretty well educated labor base. People farmed and they also lived in